The ballroom at the Meridian Crest Hotel glowed beneath its crystal chandeliers, alive with the clinking of glasses, echoing laughter, and soft jazz humming beneath the surface. Somewhere between the foie gras crostini and the fifth retelling of Bryce's law firm merger, the Maxwell family reunion was unfolding exactly as expected, or rather, exactly as Monica Maxwell planned it. She floated between tables in a silver floor-length gown, orchestrating the evening like a seasoned conductor. Her voice rang clear across the space, every directive, every compliment, every fake laugh timed to perfection. "Jackson, darling, you'll be next to Mom. She's dying to hear about your hedge fund's expansion." Then, with a grand flick of her perfectly waved hair, she pointed across the room. "And Elise, Dad wants your thoughts on that property tax loophole you uncovered in Chicago." I watched it all from a distance, standing by the staging area near the kitchen, sipping my water like a stranger, at my own family's event. No one noticed. They never did. Not until Monica's gaze scanned the room and, for a split second, faltered when it landed on me. "Oh, Danielle!" she exclaimed, like she'd just remembered a line in a script she never rehearsed. "We're a bit tight on seats tonight. Would you mind?" She gestured vaguely toward a table near the server's station. "Just over there. You're still working in, what was it again, Independent Home Goods or something?" "That's right," I said, offering a smile. "Something like that." They all believed I worked in artisan procurement, which neatly explained the travel and the absence. What they didn't know, what they'd never cared to ask, was that I was the founder and CEO of Dominion Luxe Holdings, a $14 billion zero-cents global luxury brand portfolio that quietly owned over 90% of the hotels my family bragged about staying in, including this very one. I slipped into a chair at the periphery, my deep navy dress catching the light in subtle shimmer, custom-stitched by Mirabelle Thorne, the fashion house I'd acquired 18 months ago in a private deal. As I sat, Noah, the general manager of this Meridian Crest, rushed over with a look of sheer panic under his practiced smile. "Miss Parker," he whispered, "your executive suite is prepared. We weren't informed you'd be joining this event as a guest." "Tonight?" I said softly. "I'm just Danielle. Let's keep it that way." He nodded, but his posture remained rigid, like he was trying not to bow. Monica, meanwhile, was holding court, telling a breathless story about her humanitarian gala at the Palmera Spa Resort in the Caymans. One of mine, of course. I checked my phone. A message blinked from Tessa, my CFO. "Grandvia acquisition finalized. Dominion now owns flagship properties in 4 additional countries." I smiled. Across the room, Monica toasted her good taste in travel. She didn't know that her favorite penthouse concern in Rome answered directly to me. "Danielle," my mother called from the main table. "Come say hello, sweetheart. You've been such a ghost lately with that little job of yours." Her voice had that layered tone, pride dipped in condescension, like she was complimenting someone's handmade craft booth. I rose and made my way to the family table. My cousin Harrison didn't look up from his phone, probably checking the Dow and missing the irony that Dominion Luxe stock had surged past his firm's recommendation threshold just that morning. "Still doing that artisan thing?" he muttered, uninterested. "If you're looking for something steadier, I could probably get you into the logistics team over at Bailey & Pierce. Entry level, of course." I almost laughed. His company had recently submitted a pitch to handle distribution for the Grandvia acquisition. I'd rejected it. Too slow, too proud, just like Harrison. At that moment, Julian Stone, the hotel's director of operations, entered the ballroom with the kind of urgency you don't expect at black tie events. He stopped cold when he saw me. "Ms. Parker," he said aloud, then stammered. "I mean, Ms. Danielle." His eyes flicked nervously to my family, trying to reconcile what he knew with what they clearly didn't. Victoria, my cousin, narrowed her eyes. "You know her?" Julian looked at me for guidance. I offered none. "Let them guess." Yes, he stammered. Danielle coordinates high-level sourcing for luxury clients. His voice wavered like he knew that wasn't the full truth, but didn't dare correct it in front of them. Right, Victoria said with a smirk. She sources fancy candles or something. She gave me a pitying look. Before I could respond, the doors swung open again. Tessa walked in, sharp in a tailored suit, holding a tablet. Sorry to interrupt, she said, approaching fast. Daniel, I need your signature on the Granvia merger docs before the European markets open. The room shifted. Heads turned. Julian froze. Harrison looked up. Merger? Boss, Tessa said again, lowering the screen toward me. I signed without hesitation. My mother blinked. Twice. Boss? 36 properties, Tessa said. 37, I corrected. Berlin finalized this morning. Victoria was staring at me like I'd walked out of a novel she never finished. Harrison's fork hovered mid-air. Wait, Dimension Lux, he whispered. Yes, I said coolly. That's mine. I turned to Julian. I believe I was seated incorrectly this evening. Julian almost bowed. 1,000 apologies, Ms. Parker. Your private dining suite is ready. Shall I escort you? Please do. As I rose, a stunned hush fell across the table. The air shifted the moment I stood. Conversations paused. Utensils hung mid-air. I wasn't supposed to be anyone important in that room, just the other sister. The one who made polite excuses, who didn't belong. And now they were watching me walk toward the VIP suite they didn't even know existed. The suite they'd never been invited to. Julian walked 2 steps ahead, clearing the way with a quiet authority, as if the staff had been waiting for this moment without ever naming it. We reached the velvet rope near the far wall, discreet, elegant, and absolutely off-limits to the general guests. He unhooked the barrier with a bow. Welcome back, Ms. Parker, he said. Your regular table is just as you requested. I turned briefly to look back. Monica was frozen, her expression somewhere between horror and calculation. Harrison looked pale. My mother adjusted her pearl necklace like it was a stress ball. The staff, the only ones who ever really knew, stood taller now. They knew who I was, not the boutique candle girl, not the disappointing daughter. The boss. I slid into the corner booth, upholstered in deep green leather, and felt something unfamiliar in my family's presence. Control. Tessa took the seat beside me, her tablet back in hand. We've scheduled press calls for the Granvia deal at 7 a.m. EST, she said calmly, and the Tokyo HQ is preparing the midnight drop. Legal's just waiting on one final review before distribution. Perfect, I nodded. Let it fly. A hush still lingered in the room. It was the kind of silence that happens after an earthquake. You don't know what's standing, what's broken, what's changed. Then Monica's voice finally pierced through. Too loud, too bright. Wait, you're a personal shopper. You drive a... I looked up slowly, let her words hang in the air, then responded in a calm voice that carried far. I own the building where I shop. And the Honda? It's for errands. The town car's parked outside if that helps you sleep. A ripple of disbelief passed across the table, the kind that shifts people's posture. They were starting to sit differently now, like they weren't sure who was beneath them anymore. My mother blinked rapidly, trying to reorient herself. All those times you missed our events, her voice trailed. I was in Dubai, or Tokyo, or Paris, I replied without bitterness, expanding operations. Though I did make it to James's promotion dinner last spring. After all, I owned the venue. The weight of that sentence lingered. Across the room, the servers began clearing the spilled wine from earlier, every motion exact, every cloth folded with care. Their eyes occasionally met mine, and they nodded in acknowledgement. I wasn't staff. I was the one who paid staff, I was the one who signed the bonuses. And tonight, I wasn't hiding it. Marcus, my COO, slipped into the room then. Sleek navy suit, composed expression. "Evening, Danielle," he said as he took his place. "Just reviewed the Asia board notes. They're excited. Stock's already climbing on rumor alone." James, who hadn't said a word until now, shifted in his seat, clearly caught between fear and fascination. "You beat every major chain for Granvia?" he asked, more stunned than curious. "Correct," I said. "We outbid them all, quietly, deliberately." Tessa's tablet chimed. "Asia's online," she murmured, glancing at me. "Tokyo board is live in 45. I turned back to the family table. "By the way, Mom, about that lunch you have tomorrow at the plaza? You might want to cancel." "Why?" she asked, visibly shaken. "Because we just bought it," I said simply. "Closed the deal about 20 minutes ago." Her fork hit her plate. "The plaza? But I've been lunching there for 20 years. I know the owner." "You knew the previous owner," I said gently. "Now you know me." The second course arrived. Delicate scallop rounds perched on glass spheres of lemongrass vapor. The kind of dish designed not just to be eaten, but experienced. My siblings stared, as if the food might tell them the answers I wouldn't. James was fidgeting now, probably imagining every time he dismissed my work, every moment he offered me opportunities beneath my skill set. "That job offer," he finally said. "The entry-level one." I tilted my head. "Ah, yes." I'd have reported to people who now fall under Dominion subsidiaries. A bit awkward, no? His face flushed. Mother leaned forward. "But how? When did you? How long?" "Since the day you told me I needed to be realistic about my career," I said softly. "I started small. One failing boutique hotel, then 2, then 5. I bought out my competition, then their suppliers, then the platforms they relied on. While you all toasted your tittles, I built an empire in silence." The first wave of press alerts hit the newswire. I could see James glance at his phone, scanning headlines. "Dominion Lux acquires Granvia Global in $3.60 B, cross-continental deal." He looked up at me like he was seeing a ghost. Then Monica did the one thing I didn't expect. She laughed, high-pitched and bitter. "You brought store-bought cookies last Christmas," she spat. "That's the empire you built?" "Actually," I replied calmly, "I bought the entire chain that made those cookies. 8-figure deal. We're scaling to premium grocers this quarter. Turns out simplicity sells." The wine arrived. Philippe, the head sommelier, handled the bottle with reverence. 1985 Bordeaux Reserve, a bottle I'd been aging for this exact moment. My family recognized it immediately. "This is a joke," James muttered, shaken. "A very expensive joke." I swirled the wine, savoring the silence. "No, James," I said. "This is what happens when the irrelevant sister stops asking for permission." I leaned back in my chair, swirling the wine slowly, letting the velvet silence settle over my family like a final curtain drop. Marcus reviewed the Tokyo stream setup while the press notifications poured in like clockwork. My mother hadn't touched her food. Monica was still gripping her wineglass like a lifeline, and James looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Across the table, my father finally spoke. His voice was low, measured, businesslike. The only tone he ever respected. "Danielle, Dominion Lux is one of the most discreet conglomerates in the industry. The CEO was never publicly identified. That was by design?" "Yes," I answered plainly. "I built this to be quiet, to grow clean, to avoid the noise. While you were all chasing headlines, I was negotiating ownership." His expression flickered, not with disapproval, but with respect. He wasn't used to being outmaneuvered, especially not by his youngest daughter, and for a moment I saw something else in his eyes. Pride. Or maybe regret. Philippe returned, this time with a leather portfolio reserved for owners. He laid it before me like a coronation. "Madame Parker," he said with soft deference, "the full seasonal wine and renovation strategy for your approval, including the rooftop terrace updates." Lillian, Monica, whatever version of her still stood, jerked her head up. "What? But I just booked my engagement party here. That rooftop is mine." "The rooftop will be under renovation next quarter," I said evenly, "but our Paris location has a gorgeous terrace. I'll have my team transfer your booking. Complimentary upgrade, of course, family discount." The words landed like a slap dressed as a favor. I didn't have to say it. We both knew. For years she dangled connections in front of me like golden tickets, all while I quietly owned the door she thought she was opening. Tessa's tablet chimed again. She turned to me. "Stock just past 18% post-announcement. Tokyo board is holding for your entrance." "Understood," I said, slipping my phone into my clutch. I stood slowly. "A car is waiting." James opened his mouth to speak but said nothing. My mother looked as if the chandelier above us might crash from sheer social weight. I reached into my purse and pulled out a solid black Centurion card. The one they thought only billionaires and urban legends held. I placed it on the table. "Dinner's on me," I said. "As always. You just never knew." My mother blinked hard, still caught in the disbelief. "All those nights you said you had to work late, at your little sourcing job." He gave a small smile. "I was right here, at this table, closing deals bigger than this building." The server's staff had gone completely still, watching not just a guest, but their employer walk out of the shadows and into her rightful seat. Outside, the black Tesla Model S pulled up to the private valet. My driver of 7 years stepped out in a pressed black suit. Not the Honda Civic they used to tease me about. The same Civic I'd kept, so they'd never ask too many questions. I walked toward the door, then paused. "One last thing," I said, turning back. Monica straightened, still searching for a comeback. "Those charity galas you're so proud of, especially the one for the Children's Oncology Wing at Crestview Hospital?" She nodded slowly, not sure where it was going. "I'm the anonymous donor," I said. "I funded that wing for 5 years. Every MRI, every bed, every pediatric specialist. That was me. Not your connections. Just compassion." My mother's fingers gripped her napkin. "That's millions," she whispered. 200 million, Marcus added gently, "though Miss Parker prefers her philanthropy stay quiet." James grabbed his phone again, scanning the headlines. Dominion Lux, the woman behind the empire revealed, Parker shocks industry with $3.60 be move. His jaw dropped as the weight of the world's attention crashed into his curated ignorance. I reached for the door handle. "Sometimes the seat they give you isn't worthy of your story," I said. "So you build your own table." David opened the door and I stepped into the soft leather, the sound of the city growing distant. "Tokyo, Miss Parker?" he asked. I nodded. "Tokyo,